Travel lovers, thank you so much for joining the podcast. This is Matt Javitt of Passport Joy coming at you with a new episode. Today we're going to be talking about like a top 5 list of things that I would do in my early 20s to prepare for travel in the next 10 years. I get these questions from some of the young folks that understand what we did of traveling for 27 straight months, and they say, Matt, how can I do a part of that? What can we do for 6 or 9 months? Or if I can take a gap year, what things should I be doing right now to get prepared? So today we're going to talk about that. Again, just getting caught up. My name is Matt Javitt, PassportJoy.com. My wife and I, Nikki, we traveled for a long time, and we take all that information we learned during those 27 months to 35 countries and put it here and on our blog at PassportJoy.com to share the advice. So hopefully someday you can travel long-term or just make the most of the trips you're taking. I've got a trip coming up, going to the Philippines with my brother, heading out in less than 48 hours at this point, so I am super geeked up. Cannot wait. By the time you listen to this, I might be on a flight or already be in the Philippines, but fun times ahead. It's our first guy trip together, so it should be a blast. We're going to do some scuba certification. I did all the online course, so I'll fill you in on all that. I did the online course, and then going to get scuba certified over about a 4 or 5 day period near Cebu, on the island of Cebu in the Philippines, where there's all kinds of exotic fish, and it's just a great way to get scuba certified. I've always loved snorkeling. I'm not the best swimmer, but I just enjoy being in the water and taking all that in. So I'm super geeked up. And we're also going to go to Manny Pacquiao's gym. If you know anything about boxing, Manny Pacquiao is an icon in the sport. So chance to check that out. And then I know a few other people over in the Philippines as well. Hope to connect with them, see how they live over there, and because one guy's an expat, get his thoughts and advice, and just understand a little bit more about the Philippines. So that's it. Looking forward to giving those probably be a couple episodes on the Philippines when we get back. But I'm geeked up for travel, so I just wanted to share some quick advice. I get these questions all the time of what should I do now? How should I prepare? And so I just want to jam through kind of a hot list of things and thoughts of what I would do if I was in my early 20s, or if you're somebody that just has a desire to travel in the near future and you just don't know where to start. Some of this you'll be like, oh, this is common sense, but some of it might not. Maybe I'll strike a chord and get you to start thinking a different way about certain things. So the first thing always is money, right? How do you get the money? Where's the money come from, and what should I do for money? So a great way that I would likely start is first and foremost, the best account, and all these accounts are starting to change, right? All these checking accounts, savings accounts, credit cards, everything's starting to change a bunch. Fees are a big deal. So if you withdraw money, and that's how we use currency around the world, is we put it into the bank account and then we withdraw the currency when we land in that location. So for instance, as we're going to the Philippines, my brother gave me a check of money that I put into my Charles Schwab account. And that's my advice, is to say, use Charles Schwab, because that's the account that we use when we travel, because they pay back ATM fees at the end of the month. So my brother gave me a check of money, and then once we get over there, I'll withdraw the money out of the account, give him his money back, and then those ATM fees we won't be charged on. So over the period of time, if I rack up $20, $25 of ATM fees withdrawing Filipino pesos, I think they're called pesos, then I'll get that money back, and we don't lose that money, and we don't have to carry around a ton of cash as we make our way around the country. We can take it out day by day or once every 2 or 3 days. So that's my first bit of advice, is get a Charles Schwab account or an equivalent where you don't get charged fees when you pull ATM withdrawals. And that's in America as well. So if you're going from a different city or just your local town, you can withdraw and they'll give you those fees back. But that also, it'll help you maybe establish a separate checking account where you use it as a travel fund. So as you're making money, maybe you say 5% or 10% or whatever you can afford monthly or paycheck wise to put into a different fund, to say, this is my travel money, I'm not going to touch it. Then that's what you put it in. And then maybe you start creating certain disciplines in your life where you're looking at maybe getting 2 or 3 coffees a week at Starbucks, and you're saying, okay, I'm going to take that $10 or $15 that I'm saving by not doing that, by restricting myself a little bit. I'm going to put it over in this account. So over time, that money builds and builds, and you get it to a point where it becomes a true travel fund. And then you can tap into that every 4 to 6 months to either take a couple of weeks vacation, or if it's more long term, you really build that thing up. So then you can do something that's more like 4 to 6 months if you can afford to do that. But that's what I would do. I would absolutely understand how to separate those funds so you can see it grow, and you create that discipline of maybe restricting yourself to do certain things to create those monies for future use. Because part of that restriction, it's the encouraging part to know that you worked hard to make the travel happen. And it's the dreaming aspect of it, knowing that you've got that money in there and it's going to go to a good place later. People ask all the time is, how do you make the money in order to save the money, right? I'm an abundance guy. When it comes to saving, yeah, of course we saved, but I'm in the mentality of try to make more money rather than restrict your life down to nothing. And then it's like life is so boring that you're only waiting to go traveling. I'm on the mentality of, if you can pick up a second job, I would do that. I would do something, they call it a side hustle, however you want to term it, but I would do something where you can make more money. Me, within the sales profession, typically if you are in the sales profession, the ceilings can rise, right? So you can push yourself to make more money if you have the opportunities within the company or whoever you represent, by putting in longer hours, building up your skill base, and then making more money. So I'm in that mentality. I'm not in the constantly restrict mentality. I think you do have to have disciplines where you cut back on certain things you don't need to do, but at the same time, in that form of discipline is maybe you're taking that time and energy you'd put towards watching a certain TV show that costs you $8 a month. All the time you're spending doing that, maybe you get a side hustle and you're working on the weekends or working a couple nights a week to make that money to put towards the fund. So I'm very much an abundance mentality, make more money rather than save more money. And so that is always my advice when it comes to, hey Matt, how do you make the money to do something like you guys did? And it's just hard work and focus and find skills in the market that are valuable and to make more money from that. And there's so many ways today you can do that between all the different gig apps, whether it's driving an Uber or Lyft, or doing something like Instacart where you're shopping for people, or websites like Upwork where you can put your talents, especially if you have talents that translate online, you can put your talents on the website and people seek you out. You build a great portfolio and a profile, and they seek you out, and you do gigs on the side, whether that's video editing or photo editing, or there's so many ways on websites like Upwork that you can put your skills out there. So that's what I would do. And then find jobs in the market that are going to translate in the next 10 years. So if travel is going to be something that's a huge part of your life, what skills in the market can translate behind a computer? What can you do? What can you learn to code? Can you learn to build websites? Can you learn video editing, photo editing? Things like that translate really well behind a computer. Even like copywriting. If you're really good with just the English language, how does that translate on to help companies around the world? They even have sales professions that you can do from your laptop. So those, if you think you want to be like a digital nomad, or you want to look at your life in the next 10 years and say, I want to live in a lot of different places without having to have a brick and mortar type job where I go to the same building for the next 2 or 3 years. Those are the type of skills you got to look at. Those are the type of thing you have to do. So it might just be going on a website like Upwork and figuring out what are people doing at the dollar ranges that I would need for this lifestyle, and see if you have a beginning skill set that you can then build up by just tapping into different education websites online to build those skills. I mean, YouTube gives you everything. You could probably learn how to code really well enough to get paid just by watching YouTube videos today. So think about that. Think about jobs that'll translate really well in these next chapter of your life, because a lot of those technology jobs anywhere or creative jobs are going to translate well in the next 15 to 20 years, regardless in the job market. And then if another thing, if you're just like, Matt, I just want to go travel. I just need to go find a way to make money while I travel. What's the best way? Without a doubt, it's teaching English to children. We saw this constantly on the road, most significantly in Southeast Asia. But the idea that college kids or post-college graduates were teaching children in those areas of Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, Indonesia, spending time with the kids in exchange for money in the local currency and just living. Korea is huge. And then if you just want to do it online, we met many people that were teaching Chinese kids online, getting paid in American dollars into a bank account in America, and then just using that money and withdrawing it. So it's just like what I described is you do a lot of webcam teaching. They pay you into your American account and you just withdraw that money into the currency wherever you're living. So we met one couple in particular where they were bouncing around from Thailand to Vietnam. We actually met them in Indonesia. They would just have to log on for like 20 hours a week, get paid up to like $20 to $22 an hour US, and then use that money to travel, because Southeast Asia is so cheap to travel that if you're making that level of money, you can absolutely have enough money to travel comfortably and enjoy your time. Because when you're talking 20 hours a week, I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're probably working more than that already. So that's what I would do if you just want to travel and you have, maybe you're college educated, or if you got some college education underneath you, teaching English to foreign kids is a great way to do it. And then finally, I would say make sure your social profiles represent you well. Because we used not only LinkedIn, but Facebook at times, and then also the websites that we were using with WorkAway.info. That's where you volunteer your services in exchange for housing. WorkAway is a great way to travel on the cheap. And at websites like TrustedHouseSitters.com, that's where we watched pets in exchange for housing. That website is a bit more expensive, but if you're looking for a lot of long-term stays, Trusted House Sitters can be a great solution. But my point is you want those profiles to look nice and to represent you well. So as you travel and you meet people and they go to these profiles, it's just an easy way to kind of validate some level of trustworthiness, and then it leads to other things. I would use my LinkedIn profile many times, and then also websites like Meetup, to meet strangers. And then those stranger conversations turn into just great nights out, meeting locals, and just meeting people you want to meet in these foreign lands, where you get a true sense of the culture, but also you have instant contacts to people in the area. But if you're trying to reach out to somebody cold and your profile doesn't represent you well, they're probably not going to meet you. Just one example is I had an opportunity to meet this gentleman in Ho Chi Minh City. He's actually an American, but he lived in Ho Chi Minh for at least 5 years as an American when I met him, and he was deep into cryptocurrency. And which was really intriguing to me. I got a technology background, and I just wanted to hang out with the guy, see why he loved living in Ho Chi Minh, or they also call it Saigon. See why I loved Saigon so much, and what was his life like as an expat living in this country. And when I reached out to him, he responded, because I sent him links to my other profiles just so he could validate I was a real person. And from there, we ended up having went to the movies. Nikki and I with his girlfriend, we all went out and hung out and got a chance to know him. And he's a great guy. And then he introduced us to his other friends and just hit it off. And it was just a great way to understand Saigon and just get in touch with that the true local aspect of travel. So that's why I think your profiles are so important. Hopefully they represent you really well, and you can use them to meet people. Because as you meet people along the road anyway, you're going to exchange Instagram accounts. You're going to do these different things. Nikki and I, we got a trip coming up soon to Mexico. We're going to meet somebody that we met in Estonia, in Mexico, because at the time we took a photo. I grabbed his information. I knew where he lived in Mexico. I took his photo. I took his Instagram information. We stayed in contact, and now we're using that. So when we go down to Mexico, we get to hang out with this guy, see how they live in the village that he lives in, and hang out that way. So highly recommend. Make sure your social profiles represent you well. Stay up on them. I know it's a lot of work, but it's just something you need to consider if travel is a big part of what you want to do. But that is it. Those are my hot topics, my hot points. If you're looking to make travel a part of your life and you're just getting started, those are the areas I would focus on, and I think that would get you a good start. As always, great way to support us. There's several ways. World Barbershop Adventures Season 3 is coming out on Amazon. On Amazon Prime real soon. That process does take a little bit, but those 5 new episodes will be up any minute. Please go check those out. Give me a great review online. If you have an Amazon account, it's so easy to give a review on Amazon. So please, if you can, review that. Give me some stars. Give me some 5 stars on there, because that'll really help video series get out there. The police book, Police Brotherhood in Uniform, at policearoundtheworld.com. That's the photos I took of police officers around the world. And then Nikki's book, Passport Joy, on Amazon as well, on the Kindle. Check that out. So, and if you're like the topic we talked about today and you're like, well, how are the ways that Matt and Nikki do this around the world? Go to passportjoy.com/partners, or just go look at the partners tab at the top there. And there's a bunch of companies that we used and products that we used that helped us get around the world easily, to do it on the cheap and have a great time while we do it. That is it. I am off to the Philippines. Hope life is great. Talk soon.